welcome back to NBC Action News Midday. We have a very special guest with us this morning. This is Pattie Petty. She is the wife of race car driver Kyle Petty and co-founder and president of Victory Junction, a camp for chronically ill children. And they had just announced last week that they have found a site in Wyandotte County, very close to the Speedway, for the new Victory Junction, only the second one in the country.
Yes.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Want to introduce your little friend?
Well, this is Winnie. And
look at Winnie.
I moved to Kansas City back in September, and my husband came last week for the race. Realized I was a little lonely for my animals back home and the children at Victory Junction, so he bought me a little new mascot for the camp here.
And back home is in North Carolina, right?
In North Carolina.
And the first camp was in Randleman.
It is in Randleman, yes it is.
So tell us how and why you picked Kansas City for the second camp.
Well, my son had spent a lot of time in Kansas City. His sponsor was Sprint. He had spent a lot of time at Children's Mercy Hospital, and he did a lot of the testing for the Kansas Speedway as it was being built. So we had been here a great deal, but as we began to look at where was the best place to centrally locate another camp, this is the perfect place in the Midwest, as we're seeing too many children from this part of the country in North Carolina, and it's just too far for them to travel.
Okay.
They're too sick.
Victory Junction, what is the camp about? What do you do?
We see 29 major disease groups of chronically ill children, and we just bring them to the camp for a week, and they get to do everything they've been told they could never do. Spina bifida, sickle cell, severe neurological, full-blown AIDS, heart, lung, and kidney disease. And we can see them in a medically sound environment as we have a full working hospital on site.
And it's free of charge to kids 6 to 16.
Exactly. So it's very important that we raise a lot of money to sustain the children to be able to come to camp.
And it has a very personal connection with you because of your son?
Our son Adam desperately wanted to build this camp, as it was so important to him to give children the opportunity to do things that he took for granted and his brother and sister took for granted that they got to do. You have healthy children, so you're blessed with being able to let them do a lot of the things that our children are never allowed to do. But when they come to Victory Junction, they get to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, now, just to give folks an idea, as they're driving north past the Speedway, there's an area of land that's on the west side, right, driving north, and it's wide open there. And this is going to be open in 2014?
I'm not going to put a time limit on it.
That's good.
I'd love to say we would be able to see day camps in a year or so, because we're going to be so metropolitan here. Where in North Carolina, we're in rural Randolph County of North Carolina. Okay. But we'll be so centrally located here. You see it right off of 70, right before you turn on 435 to go into the racetrack. It's very appropriate that it would have a close parameters to the racetrack, but it is going to be a Midwest camp, not necessarily a race-themed camp.
Okay.
It's going to take on the flair of the Midwest.
Of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Pattie Petty, thanks for coming in and sharing. And Winnie, good to see you.
That's because camp is a win-win.
There you go. It's a win-win situation. Well, we're glad there's a camp like that for kids.
We are glad to have.
The new Wyandotte County camp will be built on 65 acres off of Interstate 70, just east of the Kansas Speedway, as Pattie has been talking about. We'll be right back after this.